Welcome to Reflections on the Masculine Journey with Raith. I'm Raith, and this is where we talk about wisdom, discipline, purpose, honor, and becoming the kind of man life requires. This is Masculine Journey Reflections number 11, and today's topic is becoming the man you claim to be. In the last episode, we talked about wisdom. We said wisdom is not just information. It is not just age. It is not just experience. Wisdom is what happens when a man turns experience into understanding. But once a man begins to understand what life has been teaching him, he has to ask another question. Am I becoming the man I claim to be? That question matters. Because a man can claim many things. He can claim to be disciplined. He can claim to be honorable. He can claim to be strong. He can claim to be responsible. He can claim to be loyal. He can claim to be wise. He can claim to have a code. But the real question is not what a man claims. The real question is, does his life provide evidence? Because identity is not built by words alone. Identity is built by repeated choices. A man's habits write his story. His reactions reveal his discipline. His private choices expose his code. His responsibilities reveal his maturity. His conduct shows the truth of who he is becoming. So today, we are talking about identity, not image, not reputation, not what other people think, but the man being built through repeated action. Because a man does not become what he claims, he becomes what he repeatedly proves. Let's start here. Image is not identity. Image is what a man wants people to see. Identity is what his life proves over time. Image can be managed. Identity has to be built. A man can create an image of strength while avoiding responsibility. He can create an image of discipline while living in private disorder. He can create an image of confidence while being ruled by insecurity. He can create an image of wisdom while repeating the same foolish patterns. He can create an image of honor while cutting corners when no one is watching. That is why image can become dangerous. Because a man can become more concerned with appearing to be something than actually becoming it. He can spend more time shaping how others see him than shaping the man within him. He can become so focused on looking strong that he avoids the work required to become strong. He can become so focused on sounding wise that he stops being teachable. He can become so focused on being respected that he stops asking whether he is behaving respectably. Image asks, how do I look? Identity asks, who am I becoming? Those are not the same question. And a man on the masculine journey must care more about who he is becoming than how he is appearing. Because image may fool people for a while. But pressure reveals identity. Conflict reveals identity. Temptation reveals identity. Responsibility reveals identity. Failure reveals identity. Success reveals identity. The way a man treats people when he has power reveals identity. The way he responds when he is corrected reveals identity. The way he behaves when no one is watching reveals identity. That is why a man cannot build his life around image. He has to build his life around identity. A man's identity is built by evidence, not talk, not intention, not appearance, evidence. If a man says he is disciplined, where is the evidence? If he says he is honorable, where is the evidence? If he says he is responsible, where is the evidence? If he says he is loyal, where is the evidence? If he says he is becoming wiser, where is the evidence? This does not mean a man has to be perfect, but there should be a pattern. There should be proof. A disciplined man may miss a day, but he returns to the standard. An honorable man may fail, but he corrects the failure. A responsible man may struggle, but he does not abandon what is his to carry. A wise man may make mistakes, but he studies them and changes course. A loyal man may feel temptation, but he remembers what he has vowed to protect. Identity is built when action begins to match claim. A man does not become disciplined by saying, I am disciplined. He becomes disciplined by keeping disciplined promises. He does not become truthful by admiring truth. He becomes truthful by telling the truth when lying would be easier. He does not become responsible by liking the idea of responsibility. He becomes responsible by carrying what is his to carry. He does not become honorable by talking about honor. He becomes honorable by protecting his name through his choices. Every repeated action becomes evidence, and over time that evidence becomes identity. Every day a man is casting votes for the kind of man he is becoming. His habits vote. His words vote. His thoughts vote. His reactions vote. His excuses vote. His discipline votes. His private choices vote. His relationships vote. His work ethic votes. His appetite votes. His courage votes. His avoidance votes. Each day is not just another day. Each day is a construction site. Something is being built. The question is, what? If a man repeatedly chooses comfort, he is building softness. If he repeatedly chooses excuses, he is building weakness. If he repeatedly chooses resentment, he is building bitterness. If he repeatedly chooses distraction, he is building drift. If he repeatedly chooses discipline, he is building strength. If he repeatedly chooses truth, he is building integrity. If he repeatedly chooses responsibility, he is building maturity. If he repeatedly chooses wisdom, he is building discernment. If he repeatedly chooses honor, he is building a name that carries weight. A man's future identity is being built by today's repeated choices. That means a man should not only ask, what do I want? He should ask, what is this habit making me into? That question changes everything because many habits do not look dangerous in the moment. One excuse does not seem like much. One lie does not seem like much. One missed responsibility does not seem like much. One compromise does not seem like much. But repeated over time, those small choices become identity. That is why a man has to pay attention. He is always becoming something. In earlier episodes, we talked about the code. We said a man's code is his frame statement. It tells him who he is. It tells him what he values. It tells him what he refuses. It tells him what he protects. It tells him how he returns to center. But a code only becomes real when it becomes conduct. A man can write down a code. He can speak it. He can put it on a wall. He can talk about it in front of other men. But until he acts from it, it is not yet identity. The code says, I value truth. Conduct asks, do you tell the truth? The code says, I value discipline. Conduct asks, do you practice discipline? The code says, I value honor. Conduct asks, do your choices protect your name? The code says, I value responsibility. Conduct asks, do you carry what is yours? The code says, I value wisdom. Conduct asks, do you learn, correct, and apply what life teaches you? The code gives a man direction. Conduct proves whether he is walking that direction. That is where identity is built. A man becomes the man he claims to be when his code is no longer just language. It becomes behavior. It becomes repeated action. It becomes visible in the way he lives. One of the greatest dangers on the masculine journey is becoming a divided man. A divided man is one man in public and another man in private. One man in his words and another in his actions. One man in his intentions and another in his habits. One man in his beliefs and another in his behavior. This division creates weakness. It drains strength. It creates shame. It creates anxiety. It creates a life where a man is always managing appearances instead of building alignment. He has to remember what he told people. He has to hide what he's doing. He has to defend what he knows is wrong. He has to pretend he is farther along than he is. That is exhausting. Integrity is the opposite of division. Integrity means wholeness. One man, one standard, one direction. No hidden war between what he says and what he does. Again, this does not mean perfection. A man of integrity can still fall short. But when he falls short, he does not pretend. He corrects. He returns. He realigns. That is how identity becomes strong, not by never failing, but by refusing to live divided. Another danger is borrowed identity. A man can spend his life trying to become an imitation of another man. He copies another man's look, another man's words, another man's opinions, another man's attitude, another man's image, another man's standard. Now, there is nothing wrong with learning from other men. A wise man learns from mentors, fathers, brothers, teachers, and examples. But learning is not the same as copying. A man must not borrow an identity because he has failed to build his own. That is why this line matters. Become the man that is the standard. Don't adopt others. That does not mean arrogance. It means ownership. It means a man does the work to discover his values, build his code, carry his responsibilities, develop his discipline, and live in alignment. He does not simply perform masculinity. He builds it. He does not just copy another man's voice. He finds his own through truth and discipline. He does not wear another man's image like armor. He builds his own character, strong enough to stand. That is identity, not borrowed, built. Responsibility shapes identity. A man becomes who he is by what he is willing to carry. If he avoids responsibility, he becomes the kind of man who avoids. If he accepts responsibility, he becomes the kind of man who carries. This is why responsibility is so important. A man's identity is not only shaped by what he wants, it is shaped by what he owns. His family, his body, his word, his work, his past, his repairs, his attitude, his mission, his future. When a man says, "This is mine to carry," he begins to become stronger. He may not feel strong at first. The weight may be uncomfortable, but weight builds strength. Responsibility gives a man evidence that he is capable of more than comfort. He begins to see, I can keep a promise, I can correct a mistake, I can have the hard conversation, I can rebuild trust, I can discipline my appetite, I can govern my emotions, I can protect what matters, I can carry what is mine. That evidence becomes identity. The man changes because he has proof. Brotherhood also shapes identity. The men around you matter. If you surround yourself with men who excuse weakness, you will likely excuse more weakness. If you surround yourself with men who live by impulse, you will likely normalize impulse. If you surround yourself with men who complain but never build, you will likely become comfortable complaining. But if you surround yourself with men who sharpen you, challenge you, and call you higher, your identity will be affected. Brotherhood gives a man mirrors. Other men can see where he is drifting. They can remind him of who he said he wanted to become. They can challenge the gap between his claim and his conduct. They can tell him that is not your standard, that is not your code, that is not the man you are building. Get back to the work. A man needs that, not because he is weak, because he is human. Every man can drift. Every man can justify himself. Every man can become blind to his own patterns. Real brotherhood helps protect identity. It helps a man stay aligned with who he is becoming. Some men listening may feel like they have lost themselves. Maybe life broke something. Maybe failure changed them. Maybe grief changed them. Maybe divorce changed them. Maybe regret changed them. Maybe years of compromise left them feeling like they do not know who they are anymore. Can a man rebuild identity? Yes. But he has to stop pretending. He has to stop living from the old story. He has to stop saying, "This is just who I am," when what he really means is, "This is the pattern I have repeated." A pattern can be corrected. A habit can be rebuilt. A code can be written. A promise can be kept. A body can be trained. A mind can be renewed. A relationship can sometimes be repaired. A life can be redirected. Identity can be rebuilt through repeated evidence. A man rebuilds by choosing one honest action at a time. One truth, one correction, one promise, one disciplined habit, one apology, one boundary, one responsibility, one return to the standard. He may not believe he is a different man at first. That is normal. The evidence comes before the belief. Act in alignment long enough, and the identity begins to follow. Before we close, I want to give you a practical exercise. Write this at the top of a page. The man I am becoming. Then answer 5 questions. Question 1. What identity am I currently building through my habits? Be honest. Question 2. Where do my actions contradict the man I claim to be? Do not use this for shame, use it for correction. Question 3. What standard have I borrowed from others instead of building for myself? This requires reflection. Question 4. What evidence would prove I am becoming the man I say I want to be? Be specific. Question 5. What is one action I can take this week that casts a vote for that identity? One action. Not a speech, not a fantasy, not a performance. One real action. Maybe it is keeping a promise. Maybe it is telling the truth. Maybe it is going back to training. Maybe it is apologizing. Maybe it is setting a boundary. Maybe it is waking up and doing what you said you would do. That is how identity is built. A man becomes what he repeatedly proves. This has been Masculine Journey Reflections number 11, Becoming the Man You Claim to Be. I'm Raith, and this is Reflections on the Masculine Journey with Raith. Today we talked about identity, not image, not reputation, not borrowed standards. Identity. The man being built through repeated choices. A man does not become disciplined by admiring discipline. He becomes disciplined by practicing it. He does not become honorable by talking about honor. He becomes honorable by protecting his name through his choices. He does not become strong by copying another man's image. He becomes strong by building his own standard. If this message speaks to you, subscribe to the channel, follow the podcast, and share this episode with another man who is trying to become the man he claims to be. Leave a comment with this answer. What identity are your habits building right now? In the next episode, we will continue the journey by discussing self-mastery, governing the man within. Until then, remember, identity is not what a man claims. Identity is what his life repeatedly proves. Build the evidence, live the code, become the standard, and keep becoming the man life requires. I'll see you next time on Reflections on the Masculine Journey with Raith.